us. Vandana Saxena, who is received that kind of a Padma Shri from England, UK, and Prachi Jain will talk about Entrepreneurship 2020. Apart from that, we have National President Kredai Jaksesha tomorrow at 5 p.m. Interested people may send request on WhatsApp 7211173105. Without taking much of your time, I suggest to moderator of the session, who is also Vice President of TiE Surat, Kashyap Pandya, to take over the session from here. At this point of time, we express our sincere gratitude to our Swaraji for accepting our invitations for joining this session. We welcome one and all here. Over to Kashyap.
Thank you, Sanjay Bhai. Thank you, Varad, for accepting our invitation to be the keynote speaker for today's webinar. Before we jump into the topic, let me briefly introduce Varad. Varad Rajan Krishna is an executive turned serial tech entrepreneur. He is an angel investor with a track record in professional career spanning more than 25 years. As an entrepreneur, he has been through 5 successful exits, including 2 IPOs. He has been part of startup community that have developed products and IPs ranging from embedded software, BPM, telecom, clean tech, and many more. Varad is currently engaged in building open innovation community worldwide through his venture Induct. He's also involved in a few global startup programs. Notably among them is 100 Open Startup, where he is a co-founder also. So it's an absolute pleasure to have Mr. Varad Rajan Krishna for today's seminar. Now, as Sanjay Bhai said, collaboration is the key in today's time. As Steve Jobs once said that great things in business are never done by one person, and none of us is as smart as all of us. So keeping that thought in mind, today's topic, collaborate to co-create the future, is need of an hour. So now I'll request Varadji to take you through how we can achieve success and create a sustainable future using collaboration. So over to you, Varad.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, very good afternoon to all of you. I must thank TIE as well as all the other associated team here on the panel to have given me the opportunity to talk to you. So today, the topic is, as you heard, it's all about collaboration, how we can overcome, the challenges. So first, I want to tell you, this is not the first time that humankind has faced a huge challenge like this. This has happened before. Only thing is that there is so much visibility due to the digital media and also the social media that is very aggressive today. You're able to get a lot of information. And that information is the reason why people are aware, more aware than ever before. It is also important for you to know that there are plus and minuses because of this. The minus is that we know that a lot of negative news and bad publicity, fear mongering is going on, a lot of rumors spreading around. That's the negative part. The positive aspect is the data and the information. So with the data and information, we are able to come up with models and also methods to conquer this big problem that we are facing today. Just to let you know, most every country, I can say about 200 odd countries are involved today in running challenges in their own respective countries, trying to source solutions from their local markets, and then trying to address their own problems. So these COVID-19 has not spared anybody. It is all over the world right now, and it is to be contained. And so we are all coming together, we are all collaborating, and all the mighty powers in technology as well as in innovation are coming together. And this is also the time when we have to come together and overcome this challenge that we're facing of economy. The economy's first effect is due to the health issues that we're facing. That's the most important one, as you heard also from our Prime Minister, that he chose to lock down, which has caused so much economic, heartburn to many people. But at the same time, the decision was whether to save people or to save the economy. So he took the decision of saving the lives of people. So, that's a good decision, I can say, because we will figure out after we save the lives, how to conquer this economic problem. We will look at that later. Now, I'm going to quickly get into what we're going to present today, what is collaboration and what we are doing. It is to do with two aspects. One is called open innovation. So the open innovation is a concept that was created by Dr. Henry Chesbrough. See, he used to work for large corporations. One of the important one, the last one that he used to work for is Quantum, the leading hard drive manufacturer. They are based in the Silicon Valley. And when he used to work with them, he used to always look at outside to source innovation. So the effectiveness was he could get 30% cheaper versus doing it internal to Quantum. And that is what led him to develop this theory. And he still teaches at the Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley. And most important is he's also running something called the Center for Open Innovation at UC Berkeley, where leading corporations like Microsoft, Google, Intel, just name it, every big company is part of that. There are two Indian companies as well. One is Tata Group and the other is Wipro. And so they are all coming together and they're hearing to what Henry is suggesting as the latest methods to collaborate and bring about effects and value for the respective organizations. So the aspect I need to talk about right now, before the open innovation, something called closed innovation used to happen, which is all companies used to have their own IP internally and they wouldn't share it with anybody. So it could be, as you can see in this map, in this view graph, as you can see, this is a funnel. This funnel doesn't have any pores. So it is a closed funnel. So you can say that any idea within the organization will remain there and it will be taken through the innovation path to market. And this is what we call the research investigations that happen within the organization as R&D, and then they develop it and then release it as new products to retain their leadership in their product or in their solutions that they've been offering. So this applies to every company. So some of the examples are the chemical industry, which you are very familiar in Gujarat. So then it happened in also electrification like Edison, GE, Rockefeller, Standard Oil, and so on. So all these are great examples of closed innovation. That means these companies never collaborated. They were leaders and these had meaning at that point in time, before the turn of the 20th century. This was the way to go, and there was not much of competition and the population levels were much lower than what it is today. And so every company could retain, and there was their leadership position by being closed. But the things changed when the population began to increase. And we also had a lot of R&D development happening all over the world. So this is what happened. The funnel you can see is having pores. So maybe you can see a better picture here as a three-dimensional view. So this is how the funnel looks as an open innovation concept, that is with the pores. So the ideas can come into the organization from outside. They can also go from inside to outside. So as you can see, the ideas come and mix with the internal ideas, and then the idea is going to next level and then taken to the market. It's spun out as a licensing model, or it is spun out as a different company, and so on. So these are the methods by which open innovation is happening even today. So large corporations like GE is one good example. They invested $1 billion in the year about, say, 2007, 2008, and they got a return of $7 billion. And of course, every big organization today is into open innovation. And specifically, I want to also address the SME sector, because I see that we have a large group here that is interested in MSME. So how it works is, see, the large corporations have a lot of money at their disposal. They have a lot of resources to do R&D. But if you really look at the smaller entities like SMEs or MSMEs, they don't have that. So they have to actually work with outsiders. It could be another supplier. It could be another startup. It could be another research institution. So these are all examples of how collaboration happens. And SMEs should take advantage rather than developing it themselves, mainly because they don't have the resource, they don't have the manpower to do this, and most important, they don't have the budget to do this. So the best is to collaborate with the outsiders, startups and entrepreneurs to take the solution to next level. So the logic of open innovation, why open innovation became so big, is because the good ideas are actually distributed. Like I gave you the example in the beginning of COVID-19 spreading very fast. It is very widely distributed because information is today available at the fingertips, and IT enablement of every business is making it happen. Internet is a great vehicle to take your information from one point to another in nanoseconds. So this is one of the reasons no one has a monopoly on useful knowledge. So it is being shared, and it is no more, you can say that something I own. It is to be shared with everybody. Second, financial managers must play poker. That means they should be able to strategize as well as take a gamble. So that's what you're seeing here. We must also manage the IP in order to manage research and need to access external IP, and also large organizations which have put a lot of money in the past in the R&D which never got commercialized. They can actually monetize them through this method of collaborating with outside, where those dead investments can find new paths through startups and entrepreneurs. And not all the smart people, this is the most important one, the last point, not all the smart people in your industry work for you. So they are spread all over the world. So if you can collaborate, the chances of that idea becoming successful is very high. And so this also brings to the other concept, which is non-invented here. So if you really look at many companies like Intel or IBM and so on, what happens is that there's an internal resistance to bring ideas from outside, mainly because they think if it is not made in IBM, if it's not made in HP, it's not worth it. So this is not the concept. The open innovation actually opens it up and says the idea can come from anywhere. And the best ideas are coming from research institutes as well as from entrepreneurs. So, you have to collaborate. So that's why, you see this RIP, rest in peace, non-invented here. The concept has to be shed, and, we have to open up. So the large companies are opening up and saying, yes, we want to work with these startups. And so until 2015, this was not the case. The big companies used to think it's a waste of time, to work with startups and entrepreneurs. But after 2015, a lot of disruptions happened. The businesses got disrupted. So that's when they took notice and they began to engage with the entrepreneurs and startups. So for those who are interested to read further, these are the great works of Dr. Chesbrough. You can pick up the main one that I can suggest is the Open Business Models that is available on Amazon. And this presentation, of course, I will share it with the TI Surat members, and you can also get the copy of this. Now, I'm also going to talk about entrepreneurship because nothing is done without entrepreneurship. Even in the large organization today, they are opening it up to say everybody in the company, the big companies and SMEs also have to work like a startup. And that's because you need to be quick. The market is changing. The pace of innovation is very fast. And so how do you keep in touch with the recent times? What is happening in the marketplace? The obsolescence, rate of obsolescence is so high. Within 2 years, right? If every 2 years, new products are coming in, and that pace of innovation has been only increasing. And within 6 months, you're seeing the mobile phones become obsolete, new models get released. So these are examples of entrepreneurship that's happening within companies like Samsung, or there's all those big names like Apple or Google and so on. So these are some of the works on effectuation and also entrepreneurship. So those who are interested, can pick up this. So my topic today is going to be on effectuation, because this is something which you will also learn about how your organization can adopt these principles of effectuation and then benefit from it. So here I want to bring the quote by Vinod Khosla, the famed investor from the Silicon Valley. So he said, effectuation, the best theory of entrepreneurship you actually follow, and whether you have heard of it or not. So if you really see, when I started my own entrepreneurship initiatives and activities, I didn't know that whatever I was doing was effectuation. But later I learned about it in 2009, I heard about it. Then I was surprised, because whatever Dr. Saraswati, that, this is a person that you're seeing here. So she is the one who's an entrepreneur who's been through a few successes as an entrepreneur and few failures. So she thought, is there a way to teach students or wannabe entrepreneurs about entrepreneurship so that they can also make it into a science and entrepreneurship can be taught? So she is a big, let's say the figure behind Effectuation. So she has a website called effectuation.org. So you can visit that website. It's full of information, a lot of data that you can use for your own benefit. So now I'm going to walk you through what are those 5 principles of effectuation. So you know that, right? If you see a typical startup, what happens is that you come up with an idea, brilliant idea, pitch it to an investor, show that's a huge market for it, and then write a business plan, raise money for it, build and grow the venture, go public or sell it, and go after the Bahamas, right? So this is the conventional wisdom, right? Everybody does that. So these are, if you see a lot of, see the startups that have come from the Silicon Valley, many of them have followed this process. So what we are going to talk today is about those 5 principles that as an entrepreneur or even as an adopt principle we call is bird in the hand. Whatever you start off, whatever idea you start off is the knowledge that you already have, or you are let's say, in touch with that sector or that vertical for a long time. You have good knowledge about it. And that knowledge that you have is the bird in the hand. And once you have started to think about that idea, whatever that idea is, you then begin to find out, try to validate whether somebody will buy, somebody will pay for it. And so what you do, you talk to your professor, you talk to your friend, you talk to your network and so on, right? So that piece that we're talking about is an affordable loss. So let us say I go and talk to my professor and he says, okay, I heard about this idea, it's a good one. Do one thing, you can talk to a friend of mine. He's got a lot of information about, a lot of insights about this, please talk to him. So this part that I talked about, is not going to cost you any money. And, you're just going to spend, maybe you're going to take your car or your two-wheeler to go and meet somebody. So it doesn't cost you anything. And that's why it's called an affordable loss principle. The third one, so as I mentioned to you, you meet with a lot of people that, your friend or professor or anybody is connecting you to, and that's called the crazy quilt. So the crazy quilt is something similar to what you see if you go to a tailor shop. There'll be a lot of cut pieces lying on the ground. Imagine you pick it up and then stitch it into a quilt. It'll look crazy, like this, what you see in the picture here. And it'll be of different texture, different patterns, different colors, and so on. And that is your ecosystem. And, as I mentioned to you, when the second step was happening, that affordable loss principle was happening, you were connected to so many people. And you as an entrepreneur can make the choice of, I want to work with this university professor, I want to work with this investor, I want to work with this SME and so on. So you make the self-selection, and that step is actually called the crazy quilt, because each one of us is different. We are of different mindset, we bring different experiences. So if we begin to make the selection, we select ourselves whom we want to collaborate. And that's, the principle called the crazy quilt. Now, once you have done this, you will understand all the constraints. What are all the challenges in working with this environment? And that's called the lemonade principle. Here, I want to step back and tell you why it's called a lemonade principle. Suppose I give you an orange or an apple to, just when you come to my home, you're going to relish it. You're going to say, wow, thank you so much. But if I give you a lemon, most people are going to say, oh, sour, it is so sour. What will I do with it? But an entrepreneur will say, I will convert that into a lemonade. So that is what an entrepreneur is made of. You give him constraints, he or she will work out a model from which you can benefit, you can create solutions. And that's the lemonade principle. Now, once you have started to build your idea or your solution or your startup, then you also realize that you have, like all of us, we have about 14 hours a day. You can do one big thing or you can do a small thing. So let us do a big thing because it'll have a better impact. It'll reach a lot of people. And that is, you know, looking at from a 35,000 feet level, and that's called the pilot principle. So, you know, how all these 5 principles are going to be, let's say, applied, and I'm going to walk you through this is how Dr. Saraswati did it. So when she began her research, she was guided by a Nobel laureate professor, Dr. Herbert Simon. So Dr. Herbert Simon won a Nobel Prize, and Saras was very lucky to have him as her guide, and they began to define how to do the survey about successful entrepreneurs and come at, you know, this model as I explained to you, and they arrived at something called the expert entrepreneur. Who is an expert entrepreneur? Somebody who has been in entrepreneurship 15 plus years, somebody who has been through multiple ventures and, you know, through different successes and failures, and must have done at least one IPO. So if you fit in this criteria, all the 3, you know, you tick off, then you're considered as an expert entrepreneur. Now, these people that you can say about 349 of them at that point in time, around year 2000, were, you know, fitting this particular category, you know, or this criteria. They included Bill Gates, they included Larry Ellison, they also included Richard Branson of the Virgin Atlantic, you know, Virgin Airlines and so on. So, you know, so what happens is that she did this survey with about 349 entrepreneurs. 49 of them, you know, submitted to the interview, and then that is what resulted into what is called effectuation that I shared with you. Now, I'm going to give you more information about how this happened, how it was used. What is effectuation? Work with what you already know within your control, and you co-create the future. That means with what you have, you need to work. And so I'm going to walk you through an example of Airbnb. So as you know, these 2 founders, Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia, they were based in Silicon Valley at that point in time, and they could not pay rental, you know, their own rent. And it was because at that point in time, it was already very expensive to live there. So what they thought was they would divide their own room into air beds, and they thought of renting it out to different people let's say, that are coming into the Silicon Valley. And one of them happened to be Amol. Amol is an Indian, and he was looking for accommodation in the Silicon Valley area. And he met with the founders of Airbnb, and that's what happened. So, you know, as you see, as I'm showing to you, this is how the principles were applied. The bird in the hand was the knowledge these people had. They had no preset goals, no other opportunities, but they just started off with an idea. They put a bare bone website and get their first customer, that is Amol. And then what they do is they talk to different people. They also take the feedback from Amol. And then from these feedback, they begin to build. And then they select, you know, their own former roommate, a brilliant engineer, Nathan Bishchask. So he is somebody, you know, is you can call a geek, and they hire him as one of the co-founders. And with him, they went on to develop the app. The app became, you know, very user-friendly, and they've been taught to fine-tune it better and better. So as you see, this is how they're building it. And this is already, you are seeing from bird in the hand, affordable loss to Crazy Quilt. They self-selected, right? They knew this gentleman, Nathan Bishchask, who is a great coder. So they hired him. So it was a selection made by the founders. So you who are all in the audience as entrepreneurs can make the choice of whom you want to add in your co-founding team, and, you know, whom you want to hire as employees. And then what happens is they realize all the challenges and also the problems, you know, in building this company. And that's where the Remunerate principle. So what they do, they first embrace. You know, the first thing is you have to acknowledge that there are challenges. You know, there is no point in avoiding it. So they embrace, and then what they try to do is they sell these, as you can see on your left, you know, these cereal boxes at a football event and also at different events. And they take, you know, from them about $40 a box. And that, you know, along with some other funding, they get about $30,000 US for airbed and breakfast. They are able to, you know, build on that business. So they hire more rooms and they try to, you know, rent it out. but still they are not able to make a business out of it. So they are living on the leftover cereals, right? So as you can see, that's a typical journey of an entrepreneur. They struggle a lot, and whatever they tried to sell, they couldn't sell, and they're living off those cereals. Then what happens is they join Y Combinator in 2009. Y Combinator, many of you may be aware, is a leading private accelerator based in the Silicon Valley. And they changed the name to Airbnb, and still there's no traction despite getting some funding from Sequoia, which is a well-known fund, so that at the point in time, still, they are struggling and there's no success yet. But you can actually take, these steps that you will also follow in your own entrepreneurship journeys, like, how they are working on this, how they go on to find out, different challenges, they keep on pivoting, and then they realize the success, is in making great videos and great pictures. So they go door to door and take professional photographs and then start publishing those listings. And that is when, they achieve success. So within no time, this is what happens. Airbnb tucked in nearly 800% growth in 2010. So as you see here in the previous slide, in the spring of 2010, still it's not working. But you see within a few months, it achieves 800% growth, all thanks to the great videos. So that's the breakthrough they had. That's the thing that was missing. They were to make professional videos of the various resorts and the buildings and wherever people wanted to stay. They had to bring out those videos in a crisp manner, and they succeeded. And so what you're seeing in the picture is there's a lady sitting in a yacht, and they published this video to show that they are able to break through and get the breakthrough, and then the breaking ground and achieve this 800% growth, and they celebrate that. So what we are doing here is, in short, who am I, what I know, whom I know. So this is what you start with, okay? This is you can say also the bird in the hand. What can I do? That's the affordable loss, right? I can meet my friend, or I can meet my professor. All that is an affordable loss. It doesn't cost you anything. Then interactions with people. So when I meet a professor, I meet a friend, I meet Jignesh, so he's going to guide me to some other people. All those interactions are the crazy quilt. So I can select whether to work with Jignesh or XYZ. That is a choice I have. And so that's a decision I make. When I make the decision, I bring all those stakeholders together and take my idea to next level. And so this is all, in terms of a stakeholder, you bring all those people that can help you to grow and take you to next level. And then you find new means and new goals. And then with that, you take your idea to next level and the next level and so on. And till you be able to get a break, like you saw with Airbnb, the break happened when they made great videos and great pictures, professional videographs. So that is what is required, something like that. You will find with, the stakeholders that you're working with, you will get that break. And with that, you will build on and to, find new ways to grow, and you will find also the new markets. So the other thing I want to talk to you is also, many entrepreneurs have these myths that when you have a great idea or a great IP, many people today I meet, they say, sir, I have an AI-enabled healthcare startup. Would you invest? So my point is, there are today about 6,500 startups that are, AI-enabled. Everybody's talking about, I'm offering AI. So, the entrepreneur has to understand that this is not the case. There's something called a profit entrepreneur. If I do something unique, everybody's going to rush to you. No, it's not going to happen. Build it and they will come is a myth. It doesn't happen. Second myth is there's nothing called self-made entrepreneur. So it is none other than our own Prahalad Chabaria from the Finolex group. He said, there's no such thing as a self-made man. We are made up of thousands of others. We are learning constantly from success and failures of others. And every time we are imbibing the best and shedding the negatives and then building on it. And that's what you're seeing here. And what we believe in 100 Open Startups is that when you collaborate, for example, you're seeing here Messi and Neymar, they are two great players. So when they come together, you can create something else, something even bigger. So that is what we're talking about, innovation movements, innovation platforms, and swarming of startups. And here I want to talk about Andy Rubin, who's the inventor of the Android operating system. And initially the OS, the Android OS was meant for cameras. And later, when Google bought it out, it was adopted as an operating system for mobile phones and handhelds. And today they rule the world. You know, iOS is nowhere in the picture. Android is over nearly 70% of the market, global market is with them. And how it happened? It's like this. So as you saw, Andy Rubin is just an entrepreneur, small entrepreneur, who collaborated with the big name Google, and how Google took them to the rest of the world and these big companies. And you see, Android today is being deployed by all these big brands. And you know, the numbers have been only growing. There are so many new makes that have come in the market. All of them are adopting Android. So this is a great example of how a small company can work with a big name and grow with it. And in the process, they're also creating, say, addressing a gap, creating an innovation that was missing in the marketplace, which the big companies themselves could not do. So this is a great example of how a small entrepreneur, a small individual entrepreneur, Andy Rubin was an entrepreneur, and how he contributed to this. And what we believe is that big brands and the startups can co-create the future. And that means, you know, a small startup can bring some great innovation and great ideas, which the big companies lack or the SMEs lack. And, you know, the gap can be addressed, and together they can grow and, you know, contribute to each other's success. So imagine the entrepreneur gets more business from these SMEs and big companies. And at the same time, the entrepreneur who is also taking it, SME or the big company, they are also able to benefit from the innovation that is brought in by the startup. And you know, they don't have to spend too much money because, as you know, these startups don't spend too much on HR or too much on the buildings or, you know, their offices and so on. They don't spend too much. They are keeping every cost in control. So they will be able to hire, you know, the talent or, you know, hire their services at much cheaper rate compared to if it were another big company. And so what we have done is to bring, you know, as such a program where the beginning, the problem statements are defined by these large corporations, and anybody in the world, including SMEs, can apply. And the ideas would then go through this 5 levels of filter, leading to what's called the top 100 ranking. And this is a program which we have done it even for SMEs. And there are programs today, we are running it even in India. For example, the Entrepreneurship Organization in the southern part of India, where the problems are defined by the EO members. And since the EO members are primarily MSMEs, they cannot afford to have their own R&D facility. So what they do is they collaborate with the entrepreneurs and the startups. So right now, as I talk to you, there is a 5th cohort we are running as an accelerator. And there are 24 startups that have been selected by EO members. You know, that is also, you know, something where they are sourcing their innovation. It could be in AI, it could be in digital marketing, it could be anything which the SME is lacking, and the gap is addressed by the entrepreneurs. So this is an example that, as you know, Surat, TIE, or even your small and medium enterprise organization can adopt. And this will be beneficial for both. And this is also could be a takeaway for you as an organization. After, you know, we have completed this session, we can look at ways to also implement this. So now I will quickly complete this whole program. As I explained to you, there are different grand challenges, and against these grand challenges, organizations can apply. And then, you know, they're taken through the steps as I explained to you. And here is an example of how it works. So on your right side are these corporations or the big companies and the small and medium enterprises that are interested in what's called the smart cities. So the smart cities new name is called Innovative Cities. And against that, startups apply from all over the world, and they're taken through different, as I said, steps, the 5 levels of filter. And there are 2 startups that were selected from worldwide. One is called Levayu, and another one is called Jata. So let me talk about Levayu because it makes it very interesting for you as well. So when it is Uber came, Uber disrupted the market in many locations. it had a social upheaval. There, if you look at many countries, including countries like Spain or Germany, or if you talk about France, all these countries, a taxi operator has to pay a license fee to operate his taxi. But when this Uber came, there was no such thing. They didn't have to even, you can become a driver, I can become a driver. So all you need to do was to have a car, and then you can start driving, and you can use this app, as you know, right? So that's the way it was happening. And this was creating social upheaval. People were losing jobs. The taxi drivers that were already there for many, many years who had paid a license fee, they lost jobs. They could not get an earning. So what the local governments did, they were looking at a level playing ground where Uber can also operate, but these other players that are locally established players, they can also operate through an app. So what Levayu does is an Uber on the cloud. So let us say a local municipality or a local corporation that has got a fleet of taxis, they can take this Levayu app and then host it on the cloud, and quickly, everybody, every taxi driver that is in the whole local community can use that app to become, competing level with Uber. So that way, what happened? Uber also get to operate, and the old taxi operators can continue to function, and they didn't, have to lose their jobs just because Uber came in. So this is a great example of how, all these companies, big companies, came together and then supported the startup, because they, like I said, it causes social upheavals. It was also contributing to economic disruptions, because as you know, all the money that you and me were paying to Uber were going to US. We were paying through credit cards, as you know, and all of our payments were going to the US. So it was not staying in the local economy. It was all getting transferred to other countries. So, to many ways, Levayu contributed. And similarly, there's another startup called Jata. It's a real-time tracking for last mile delivery. So this is like in-time precision. So this is, I'm talking about in the time frame about 7 years back, where people wanted to know when a particular product or a parcel will be delivered to them. And so this is what happened. And what you're seeing here is an example of how the big companies helped the startup and they contributed to the local economy. And similarly, the industry of the future is, you can say it's like the industry 4.0. It's also connected with manufacturing. So on your right, these are the companies, and they selected these two startups, and these two startups are then contributing to the local economy as well as to these corporations. And they didn't have to go to investors, so they could scale through the support from these big companies, like you can see here, HP, IBM, Accenture, 3M, all the big names are there. So these were the large corporations and SMEs in different markets that helped in the beginning. And then today we have 3,700 corporations that are supporting the program, and they are the ones enabling, this co-creation, and you're addressing a future which is uncertain. And typically, if you look at whenever this kind of challenges come in the marketplace, like we are facing today, that is something we can all come together, collaborate, and find solutions. And so to summarize, what has happened is in our program, close to about 7,800, as I speak with you, over 8,500 contracts have been signed between about 1,500 startups and about 1,200 corporations and SMEs. And that's what is a summary here. And what are the benefits you get as an executive or a company like SMEs? These are the benefits you get. You get to work with these, reputed startups. You get to work with some of the best names. And from a point of view of the startup also, as you can see here, they get all this mentoring, they get the value of working with customers, and most important, they get the resources that is not available in the VC world. And some of the events that we have done in India, how it happened, a level 3 event in September, and this is the World Startup Expo, another one that happened. And there are so many events over the years that we have conducted, and all those winners, go to our own events. So as you can see, this particular startup called Minimac, that was ranked, number 10, top 10 startup, and they won this award, as you can see. And besides that, you can see on your right, there are many other startups that have scaled through our program, and they become successful, and they're continuing to grow from wherever they are. So this is a summary from level 1 to level 5. So this is something, anyway, I'll be sharing it with you. I've already summarized, in brief about what these levels are. So you can go through this also on our website, openstartups.net. And there's the feedback from one of the IIT startups. It is called Icarus Technology. So he has said this was a great event. So he took part in the 2016 event, and how they benefited, how it has given, let's say, for them to grow, find customers, and then find investors later. So our own program became the case study, as you can see from all these big universities like MIT, Stanford, and so on. We collaborated with all of them, and it became a case study of the Harvard Business School in 2016. And ever since that, we run an MBA program with Cox Business School, University of Pittsburgh, as well as with Darden Business School in Virginia. So these are regularly being run. Even with Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, we are offering this as an executive management program for anybody in the ecosystem to learn how to source innovation in a very effective way. These are the events that we do regularly all over the world, and these are the various properties. So after we started ranking the startups, we also have been ranking the technologies from universities, then we rank the corporate, and then we also have our own angel platform, 100 Open Angels. So that's a summary. And what you see as a closing picture is a level 4 event, or the Open Innovation Week, where these small and medium enterprises, as well as the large corporations, come and meet with startups, and they have a negotiation for 20 minutes that leads to contracts. And that's what you saw as a summary there. So today, as I speak with you, over 17,000 contracts over the last 4 years have been signed. So that's a summary. I will stop here. I would like to take questions. And if there is any other information anybody would like to share, I'm also happy to collaborate with each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Varad. Very interesting presentation. And what we understand, that collaboration divides the task and multiplies the success. So I think that is the beauty of collaboration. And so there are a few questions that we have. So I think first question that normally comes to our mind is, we Indians are typically solo achievers. We want to do things on our own. We are not very good at, so to say, collaboration, because collaboration would need trust, transparency, a lot of other things. So how do you overcome this mental challenge? Because before we jump into collaboration, we need to overcome this mindset. So what is your experience dealing with this issue?
Yeah, I can tell you, Indians are highly individualistic, right? We are successful as an individual. And it's as a cultural reason for it. We don't collaborate because, from we grow up at a young age itself, our parents tell us, hey, your friend, is doing better than you in school. Why are you not able to beat him? He's always getting the first rank or second rank and so on. So, from that moment, you're always, competitive, even with your dearest friend, he's your friend, but, in your heart, you're always wanting to beat him. And so we continue to grow because of this competitive nature, have to succeed and beat the other. We grow up with attitude, and it actually reflects later on in your life, where we don't want to collaborate. We want to do things on our own. Everyone, if you look at even the global ecosystem, I see it even in the Silicon Valley, a lot of Indians don't come together, even though they're outside. As I see it in other communities, like, see from Israel or from, let's say from Russia or from Ukraine, there are many people coming here. I see they all want to collaborate. And that's the missing part in India. Imagine if you can collaborate, if you can put all the brains together, we would be unbeatable. And so the time has come more than ever before that we need to collaborate, we need to come together. And, very important point is 1 + 1, we always think it's 2, but 1 + 1, the power of collaboration is 11. So, imagine if all of us can come together, it becomes exponential. So, the power of collaboration is so much that each one of us can help the other. And especially, if you look at this today's situation, there are some knowledge Sai brings or Jignesh brings, and, as you, Kashyap, you also bring. So if all of us can bring our heads together and address the problem, the problem faced by the, say, entrepreneurs or the SMEs can be addressed. And, we can go to the next level. and then overcome this problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Varad. I think we also have with us Mr. Hetal Mehta, the former past president of Chamber of Commerce, and Shailesh Bhai Desai also. So we welcome them also. I think they will join a little later. So welcome Shailesh Bhai and Hetal Bhai. We also have a very interesting question, Varad, is for example, we always talk about collaboration and we give examples of, giants like GE or maybe, IBM running those innovation jams for many years, okay, very successfully. But here in cities like Surat and all the other tier 2 cities, our challenge is as an SMEs or MSME, how do we find that kind of collaboration? Okay, because what do we have that we can offer to those collaborators so that there is an incentive for them to collaborate with us?
Yeah, so I will tell you, when I was, the Vadodara Startup Fest happened. When I was there in the Vadodara Startup Fest, you were in the panel, right? I remember you were the moderator. And so the industry startup panel that we had, I made one suggestion there. That is something I want to again bring it up. So if you see Gujarat as a tradition, right? We're a chemical giant, so to say, in India. And so you have to leverage that. I was giving the example of how this Parul University can become the center where, let's say, the various small and medium enterprises that are addressing this chemical industry can come together. And a large company, I gave the example of Dow Chemicals because the gentleman was there. I said, they can be the one who can architect, this whole collaboration where, these small, medium enterprises can take some of these ideas and technologies from entrepreneurs. And from that level, this Dow Chemicals can take it to market because they are, as you know, the market leader in chemicals. So with their muscle and their resources, many of those innovations that are coming in chemicals in Gujarat can find a new market, in a global market through Dow. And that is what I told also Professor Jay Sudani, who was there. I said, look, take this as a great case study and implement it. That this is how, we can do this in different sectors, wherever you have leadership. I saw here a question from Tahir Zabuwala. So he's asking what kind of collaboration you suggest in real estate in this time. So that's a very good question because one of the sectors that is highly impacted is real estate. And that is mainly because I was just talking to a big company today morning. They have about 55,000 software engineers, okay, in 5 locations in India. And 97%, they have successfully transformed them to work from home. So what does it mean? It means that they can still, even after the situation improves, they will have a process, they have a method whereby, they can be checked, the checks and balances and whatnot on the deliveries can be, structured. There could be a process to monitor that and also to evaluate that. They're already on it. 97%, they managed it. So that is what I'm talking about, right? So this is highly disrupted. The co-working space is another one. So what is happening is, the question I want to answer to you, Tahir, is that you have to collaborate. And if you ask me what could be the new way the real estate market is going to develop, it's not going to be the end of the world for real estate. It's not the end of the world for commercial real estate. There will be still industry, there'll be still manufacturing, there'll be still other sectors where people have to come in person. They have to still, be as, like I say, face to face and do those sessions or, meetings and whatnot. So they have to still come to that building. So you have to, if you ask me, one of the ideas I can suggest to you is you can look at creating centers of excellence. Those buildings, that, may become vacant. If you remember, government also opened up the SEZ in a big way, right? If you know, so many of the SEZs are lying vacant. And similarly, if you look at many other infrastructure facilities over the years, were created due to a lot of hype, but then they were abandoned because the business didn't happen the way it was envisaged. So those are, let's say, still the skeletons, lying there. And so all I'm trying to tell you is, it's not the end of the world. You can pick up those real estate pieces that are there and find new ways, like how they've done, for example, in Israel. what Israel has done is they create these centers of excellence, or what we call innovation centers. And I gave you the example just now to Kashyap about the chemical industry. So, you can build a structure or let's say a center which excels in chemical industry. So you can bring all the stakeholders relating to chemical industry. I just gave you one example, right? Even for real estate, you can do it. So a lot of innovation can happen where all the key stakeholders could be university that is specializing in real estate. This could be specializing in construction, and so on, right? So you can bring all those stakeholders together and create value for them. Thereby, when you create IP and you take a stake in that, then your business is also hedged. So it's not the end of the world for you. When these startups, when these entrepreneurs become successful, you also get an exit. So here I want to bring an example of this carpet wala from Iran, in Silicon Valley. I do not know any of you know about the story. So this carpet wala, what he did, he was from Iran and he was selling, these carpets out there, and he had no other business. He was just selling carpets. But it so happened a small startup came to him and said, can you give me some space? Because in Silicon Valley, as you know, space is very expensive. So he said happily, yes, I will do it. But the startup said, look, I can't pay you, but I'll give you equity stake. And guess what? This company became a multi-billion company. And this guy, his business overnight changed. He became an investor in many startups. Even today, this is a case study from Silicon Valley and Stanford, where such of those people who are not connected to business, they find new ways to innovate and grow. So likewise, I'm saying for you also in real estate, please look out for this. I will of course pick up this data and share it with, I will share it with Kashyap, and Kashyap can forward it to you. It is about such, innovations you have to think about. And when you talk to a lot of people, right, when you talk to different people, you'll get new ideas. And so you don't have to worry that, it's not the end of the world, right? It's not, we're going to create new innovations. A new innovation is going to come, new businesses will happen. And here I want to also share with you an article by Mark Cuban, who's a leading investor in the Silicon Valley. He said, COVID, of course, is going to destroy economy, it's going to destroy businesses and so on, but it's also going to create a lot of new businesses, new opportunities. And so look out for those. And I'm sure, you will find some gems out there, some golden nugget, as to say. So Kashyap, I hope you agree with me.
Absolutely. I think we have a lot of questions, Varad. So if you can pick up few questions, for example, I think we have a lot of guys from the services industry. Okay. So how do you collaborate, or how do you make collaboration work for the services sector?
Okay, services sector, again, right, it is something similar to just I gave you the example again of the chemical industry, right? So I'm not aware of what kind of industry you have in Surat. So if you are talking about specifically the Surat market, I would like to know more details about what are the services that are, say, offered. Is it tourism? Of course, tourism is badly affected, because of this COVID situation. And you have to stay in touch with your customer at this point in time. Whatever business you are, which is impacted, the best thing to do now is to stay in touch, offer knowledge, share your knowledge, and meet with as many people as possible online. And you can learn from them what are their needs. And that will give rise, you can learn from your customer, always remember that. You can learn from your customer more than what you can learn from your own employees, because they are going to be the one who's going to buy your product, buy your services. So this is one clue I can tell you, but I would be able to give you more information, Kashyap, if you can share what are the services that are, let's say, being offered in Surat local market, then I can give you some suggestions.
Right. But, taking from your point, you need to be, closely connected with your customers. So now one question that comes to mind is, can we collaborate with customers? For example, there have been successful cases of, let's say, a Lego, asking their customers to, suggest designs and then doing a poll to come up with the design very, very successfully. And, similarly, a lot of consumer brands, a lot of FMCG brands are kind of, involving customers in decision making. So how successful is, this collaborating with customers model work?
Yes, so how it works is that, yes, you can, for example, build an MVP, right? When you build an MVP and then let's say, so this is one thing, again, it comes up back to effectuation. So you don't have to build a full-fledged bells and whistles, product, because it takes a lot of resource, a lot of time, and you don't, as a startup, cannot afford that. So what I suggest is build a minimum viable product and go to a customer, start there. And that's what, you talked about. So the customer can be your guinea pig, so to say, right? And he or she can evaluate it, give you feedback. And that is where, the relationship starts. And the feedback that, this user or this consumer is going to give you is very valuable. And I see today a lot of apps in the COVID situation, and people are all testing constantly, whether it is a e-commerce app, whether it is a healthcare app, they're just telling, through WhatsApp to use it. So that's a great example, Kashyap, of reaching out to, your friends and family and saying, hey, use my app and see what are the pitfalls, what are the inconveniences, or what are the conveniences, and so on. So that feedback will help you to improve your own offering or your product, right? So I would say that we have to look at, depending on, whatever segment you are operating, whatever services you're offering, in each and every segment, you can find that customer, whoever is your potential customer or you've been working with, and you can go back to him or her, and then you find your new innovation and then, develop on that further. So that's one way of co-creation. It's also co-creation. And, you brought the Lego model, right? So you may be aware, Kashyap, that what Lego does as a kid, right? If I'm a kid, I can actually give ideas, and, if your idea is accepted, they will pay you a royalty for every Lego product that is being sold. You will get a royalty for that idea. So I'm saying that's a great example of how customer co-creates with the company. And so we can do the same.
Right. Absolutely. I think we also have with us a keynote speaker of our next event, Harini. Can I request Sanjay Bhai to bring Harini also in the conversation, Sanjay Bhai?
Viral, can you please do that needful?
Yes, sir. 2 minutes, sir.
So meanwhile, would Sanjay Bhai would like to add to this something? Sanjay Bhai Punjabi? Your voice is not there, Sanjay Bhai.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If Hetal is there, we would like here to Hetal to, because he is working on a Setu project. That Setu project is a collaboration project. If he can share his idea.
I think Hetal Bhai is not there. I think he just left. Yeah.
I see also some questions coming up, Kashyap, as a
Yes, yeah, correct.
So there was one question: is royalty is for good ideas given? Yes, correct, Prakash. That is true. So if your idea is accepted, then Lego will pay you. And so there are many companies have copied this model later on. So it's called the Lego model, by the way. And so many companies incorporate the Lego model where the customer can join and then benefit. So any agreement is there. So Prakash, I would like to tell you that there are already established business models. So maybe I can share the link from Lego website where this can be done. I learned recently even Cadbury did it. So you can, if you have a interest or a inkling for chocolates, so you can contribute, let's say, new ideas for creating chocolates. Because Cadbury noticed that their sales are dipping and they wanted to work with customers. So you can give your ideas. So this is a great example of how Cadbury is co-creating with customers and consumers. And the same thing can be applied in any other business, whether you're a chemical business, you're a tourism business, and so on. You can get ideas from your own consumers or customers. And you can co-create those ideas, as you saw the example of Android, how Andy Rubin, as an individual entrepreneur, he could contribute. He could contribute his operating system, which is today the #1 in the world. So yes, there are a lot of case studies, Prakash, and on this. So I will share them with Kashyap. He can pass it to you.
Right. I think we have one question from Pinakin Usha Trading. The question is, we are MSME and in trading of furniture and electronic appliances, what we should do. So I think in furniture space, IKEA has been co-creating a lot. So what are your takes on that, Varad? What do we do as a furniture and electronic appliance manufacturer?
So one of the things they can, again, like you heard the example of real estate, you have to look at creating something innovative. It's not the end of the world, as you know. Furniture will still be in demand. Today, the COVID situation is impacting every business for that matter. It's a slowdown, but you should use this time to learn some of these innovative ideas about how you can involve your customer in developing new products. So I know of a startup actually who's doing this. Maybe you should learn about that startup. What they do is, as a consumer, you can give your idea and they will customize the furniture for you. And the furniture can be anything, from a bed to a chair and table and whatnot. They will customize it for you. Also, take a look at Design Cafe. I think that's the fastest growing startup called Design Cafe. What they do is you can give, let's say, it's a digitally, you can say it's an online platform for planning, your infrastructure or your home. It could be anything. And what they do is that if you just give them the area of your room or your kitchen, whatnot, they will come up, with the ways it can be decorated. It can be, you can do interior decoration for that, and depending on the costs, your budget, you can choose those models. So there are a lot of companies already doing it, and Design Cafe is a great example. They are very successful. I think they're doing about 300 crore revenues, as I know it, and they have about 500 people working for them. The two founders. So please Google them, and you will learn about what they're trying to do. And there's so much work happening in furniture area.
Fantastic. I think Harini Srinivasan has joined us. Welcome, Harini. Harini is a keynote speaker for one of our upcoming event. I think that is happening on 20th, coming Monday. Harini, we have a very interesting topic.
Yep.
Collaboration.
Yes. Hello?
Yeah. Can you just come back, Kashyap? I lost your last sentence.
Yeah. So, as you know, Harini, today's topic is collaborating to co-create the future.
Yes.
So, what are your
Absolutely.
thoughts on that?
Yeah. So this is one of the fundamentals, I would say, from my experience, which has come a long way with me in creating high-performing teams. So first of all, I think that this is a wonderful topic, which is a prequel to the topic which is upcoming, which I would be talking about later. So from my personal experience, if I see whatever I have done in multiple industries, when it comes to creating high performance teams, I think collaboration is that secret sauce. So the first thing that happens in organizations is, as an organization is growing from a small one to becoming slightly more complex to a much larger organization, what eventually starts happening is, over a period of time, silos start setting in. When silos start setting in, the collaboration which was initially there as a startup, that slowly starts to disappear. So when silos set in and collaboration start disappearing, that's when most of the damage actually happens. So one role of the entrepreneur, I would say, is to keep continuing with that culture of collaboration throughout the journey as the organization matures. And that's where high performing teams really come, because its own, collaboration is that secret sauce for high performing teams. Because as Varad mentioned, the great ideas do not come from just one place. For example, if you're talking about a large organization which has a research and development center, it doesn't mean that the great ideas are generated only there. The ideas could be actually coming from anyone, but probably they are put into practice in the R&D center. So, from my side and from my experience, I think that is the secret sauce for coming up with high performing teams.
Thank you so much, Harini. Thank you so much. So there is an Africa proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go
Yes.
far, go together.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think this is the crux of what we are talking about. I think now we are, I think, short of time. So can I ask Gaurav Singhvi to take it over from here?
Hi all, Vardhan. This is wonderful, insights which you shared, and I wanted to pick up one thing which you said is there is no such thing as a self-made man. We all collaborate and then we grow. So nobody is living on an island. So it's a word which is where everybody collaborate and co-create. So now the next generation and the way you shared about the open innovation and the way you shared the entire example of Airbnb and other things, that really connected the subject very well. And I think people are quite interested to be connecting with you and join 100 open startup. So I think probably a lot of such mails you will be receiving soon from Surat. So that was a wonderful presentation by you, and I want to thank you for sparing your time for us and giving your wisdom to all of us in Surat. And we will be staying connecting with you and we'll be learning more from you. And I want to thank you all the attendees, because we could do this kind of an event today. Also, we had more than 225 attendees, and we could do this event because of you, because you are showing that kind of an enthusiasm and showing that kind of a learning attitude. That's why we could bring such a wonderful speakers to you. So thank you, each one of you. And TiE Surat, and on behalf of Southern Gujarat Chamber of Commerce, I wanted to thank all the official builders also, and whosoever is part of this event. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Gaurav. I think this is also a very, very beautiful collaboration between Southern Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and TiE Surat also. I think that is what the need of an hour.
Startup with collaboration.
Absolutely. I think that's the beauty of collaboration. So now can I request Shailesh Bhai Desai of Southern Gujarat Chamber of Commerce to do vote of thanks. Shailesh Bhai?
I think it's muted.
Your voice, you're muted, Shailesh Bhai. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am honored and lucky to have the opportunity to give you a vote of thanks on this special webinar. And I particularly like Mr. Bharat Krishnan. He has given a very mentioned the need of digital collaboration in this webinar. And he has nicely described the matter about the big brands and startup co-creating the future, how 100 open startup has started across the globe. And he has also explained 2 examples, which is a very, very phenomenal. And that is one company, LeveU, where the travel demand management platform that optimize the transport infrastructure. He has also explained a very innovative idea of JATA, that is a real-time tracking of the last delivery step with time precision. So I am so happy about this matter. Thank you, Mr. Bharat Krishnan, for your wonderful explanation and in-depth knowledge about this matter. Thank you very much. We have with us Mr. Rajesh Bhai Desai. Thank you very much for your kind support and kind presence in this webinar. Jignesh Bhai Shah, thank you very much. Anil Bhai Jetwani, Harini Ben Srinivasan, thank you very much. We will meet you again in the next webinar. Rohan Bhai Desai and Gaurav Bhai Singhvi, thank you very much. And Kashyap Bhai Pandya for your excellent moderatorship, and our technical expert, Mr. Sanjay Bhai Punjabi. Thank you very much. At the same time, I would like to thank all those organizing team of Chamber of Commerce, and I must not forget the thanks to our office staff, Viral and Sunil. They are taking care of IT teams who contributed this organizing this webinar, and I would like to thank you again for making this webinar a success. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. One small suggestion is, I see some of the people in the Q&A are saying my questions. So my suggestion is, why don't you, one of you maybe collect these questions, whichever is not answered, I will be happy to answer them, because I don't want anyone to go unhappy. I want them.
Absolutely. And I thoroughly second you on this suggestion, Bharat. This is exactly my typical closing note also. Every single question deserves an answer. So I'm sure the organizers will reach out the questions to you and you do that.
Yes.
I'm happy to tell you, Sanjay Bhai, Punjabi will take care of this, and definitely he will shoot all the questions to you, and all the answers you are supposed to give them. And that answers will be given to everybody, whomsoever on the board.
Yeah, so I want to also assure you that I will send the presentation to Kashyap Bhai, and he will in turn circulate to each one of you. There's a lot of requests for the presentation. I would share it with you.
Thank you.
Thank you once again, Kashyap Bhai and everyone else. I'm unable to tell each one's name because we are run out of time, but I would like to thank the TIE Surat as well as the Gujarat Surat Chamber of Commerce for making this event, giving me this opportunity to talk to you. So this is just the beginning. There's a lot we can do together. Let's put this to action. It shouldn't end with a session. We should also put this into practice, should benefit from it. With this submission, I would like to end my session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bharat. Thank you, panelists, and thank you, participants. See you soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you
Yeah.
soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank
Stay
you,
safe.
Bharat.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
all.
Harini.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you.